Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Crime Story Diaries. Today we'll be examining a terrifying case, so I invite you to watch the video. Don't forget to leave your comments and likes. On a quiet night of July 31st, 2022, the small town of Strongsville, Ohio, witnessed a tragedy that would forever change the lives of many people. That night, no one could have predicted that a regular ride of 3 young individuals would turn into a fatal event that would claim the lives of 2 of them and permanently shatter the fate of the 3rd. Mackenzie Shirilla, a 17-year-old girl, got behind the wheel of her 2018 Toyota Camry. Next to her was her boyfriend, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, and in the back seat was their mutual friend, 19-year-old Davion Flanagan. They were returning from a party, full of plans for the future and the joy of life. None of them knew that this ride would be the last for the 2 young men. A quiet street, a night in the city, 3 friends in a car. It seemed like an ordinary scene for a summer night. But in the air, there was already an elusive premonition of trouble, which perhaps the passengers of the vehicle could feel but could not or did not want to acknowledge. This night would forever alter the lives not only of the participants of the ride, but also their families, friends, and the entire community of Strongsville. Mackenzie Shirilla was born in 2004 to Natalie Shirilla and John Stephen in Strongsville, Ohio. She was the 3rd child in the family, where parents tried to provide their children with everything necessary for a happy childhood. From an early age, Mackenzie was the family favorite. Parents often forgave her various pranks and mischief, trying to raise their daughter in an atmosphere of love and care. However, such excessive indulgence had its negative consequences. Even in childhood, Mackenzie began to show signs of a difficult character. She got used to her parents always fulfilling her demands, and gradually, she developed a sense of impunity. The girl became increasingly demanding and selfish, not considering the feelings and desires of others. As Mackenzie grew older, her character became more and more complicated. She easily lost her temper, behaved arrogantly and impatiently, often argued, and could even get into fights. Mackenzie disregarded the opinions of others, believing that her word should always be the last. At school, Mackenzie often got into trouble. Together with her friends, she engaged in vandalism, organized pogroms, participated in fights, and sometimes even stole. Several times, the girl came to the attention of the police, but usually, everything was limited to warnings and educational talks. In high school, Mackenzie began experimenting with alcohol and drugs. She often posted provocative photos on social media where she was smoking or drinking alcohol, accompanied by equally provocative comments. Her parents seemed not to notice or did not want to notice the obvious problem, attributing everything to adolescence. Dominic Russo was born on September 24, 2001, in Strongsville, Ohio, to Christina and Frank Russo. He was the 4th of 7 children in the family. Despite the large number of children, the parents tried to give attention to each of them, raising them with love and care. From an early age, Dominic showed diverse talents and interests. He did well in school, actively participated in sports, and tried to lead a healthy lifestyle. Dominic dreamed of a career in the music industry and, at a young age, began writing and performing his own songs. He entered a local university, specializing in performing arts producer, striving to fulfill his dream of becoming a famous music producer. Dominic and Mackenzie first met when the girl was in her senior year of high school. It happened at one of the parties in the company of mutual friends. Despite the difference in age and character, the young people felt a mutual attraction. Dominic was attracted to Mackenzie by her intelligence, good manners, and interesting conversations. Mackenzie, in turn, was enchanted by Dominic's bright appearance and ability to make an impression. In the fall of 2021, Mackenzie and Dominic started dating. The first months of their relationship were filled with romance and mutual admiration. They spent a lot of time together, appearing everywhere holding hands and openly demonstrating their tender feelings. The young couple introduced each other to their parents, who reacted differently to this union. Over time, Dominic began to notice oddities in his girlfriend's behavior. Her audacious antics and desire for everyone around her to do only what she wanted did not cause him much concern at first. He attributed everything to her young age and desire to attract attention. Gradually, the relationship between Mackenzie and Dominic became increasingly tense. Mackenzie demanded complete submission to her desires from her boyfriend. If he disagreed with her on something, she made scenes, tantrums, and behaved like a spoiled child. In public, Mackenzie still tried to control herself, but when alone with Dominic, she unleashed a storm of emotions on him, sometimes even throwing punches. When Mackenzie's behavior became completely unbearable, Dominic decided to end this toxic relationship. He suggested taking a break and sorting out their feelings. However, Mackenzie did not accept this decision. She made a public scene in front of their mutual friends, screaming, threatening Dominic that she would kill him if he left her, threatening to burn down his house and wreck his car. These actions only strengthened Dominic's confidence in the correctness of his decision to break up. Davion Flanagan, a 19-year-old friend of Dominic and Mackenzie, had a difficult childhood. He was adopted along with his two younger siblings from foster care when they were little. Despite the challenging circumstances, Davion maintained his natural kindness and positive attitude towards life. Davion and Dominic became close friends. They shared many common interests and values. When Dominic started dating Mackenzie, Davion also got to know her. He became part of their shared circle of friends, often spending time together with the couple. Despite his complicated past, Davion had big plans for the future. He dreamed of entering a barber school and eventually opening his own salon in the city. Davion was known as an incorrigible dreamer with a heart of gold, always ready to help his friends, even in the middle of the night. On July 30th, 2022, Mackenzie suggested to Dominic that they go to a party organized by their mutual friends. It was supposed to be an opportunity to have fun and show everyone that they were together again. Dominic agreed, still not sensing any threat from Mackenzie. At the party, the couple looked happy. They held hands, openly displayed their affection, and seemed like a harmonious pair. Friends were genuinely pleased with their reunion, noting that they looked great together. Throughout the evening, the young people had fun, danced, and consumed alcohol. Mackenzie, moreover, secretly took a dose of drugs, as she later explained, for courage. The party lasted until morning, and no one suspected what a tragedy would soon occur. Around 5 o'clock in the morning on July 31st, Mackenzie and Dominic decided to go home. At that moment, Davion approached them and asked for a ride. Despite the fact that this was not part of Mackenzie's plans, she agreed, not wanting to arouse suspicion. The three friends got into the 2018 Toyota Camry, Mackenzie behind the wheel, Dominic in the passenger seat and Davion in the back. Leaving the party venue, Mackenzie initially drove the car calmly, observing the traffic rules. On the main street, she drove slowly, not exceeding the speed limit and trying not to attract attention. At a traffic light, she stopped, although the road was empty. After the traffic light turned green, Mackenzie abruptly accelerated and turned onto a poorly lit secondary road leading to an industrial zone. The vehicle's speed rapidly increased, reaching over 100 miles per hour. According to the car's black box data, Mackenzie pressed the gas pedal to the floor and made no attempt to brake. The car crashed into a brick wall of a building in the industrial zone of Strongsville at an enormous speed. The impact was so severe that the vehicle was completely wrecked. Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan, who were not wearing seatbelts, died on the spot from their injuries. Mackenzie, who was the only one wearing a seatbelt, survived the crash. She was found unconscious, trapped in the driver's seat. Her fuzzy Prada slipper was stuck on the gas pedal. Rescuers pulled her from the mangled car and urgently transported her to the hospital. The news of the tragic deaths of Dominic and Davion came as a shock to their families and friends. Dominic's parents, brothers, and sisters were devastated by the loss. Davion's adoptive family also could not believe what had happened. The young men's friends and acquaintances gathered together to support each other and honor the memory of those who died. The tragedy shook the entire town of Strongsville. Local residents were shocked by what had occurred. Many knew Dominic and Davion personally or through their families. the community united to support the relatives of the deceased and express their condolences. Mackenzie's behavior after the accident caused surprise and outrage in many. After being discharged from the hospital, she quickly returned to her usual way of life. Already in September, she attended a concert of her favorite band in a neighboring city, appearing there in a wheelchair, but with bright makeup and provocative clothing. She continued to actively use social networks, posting selfies with friends and videos from parties. Friends and acquaintances of Dominic and Davion were shocked by Mackenzie's behavior. They could not understand how she could have fun and live her usual life after what had happened. Many believed that her behavior indicated a lack of remorse and indifference to the deaths of close people. The investigation began immediately after the tragedy. The police thoroughly examined the scene of the accident, collecting all possible evidence. Drugs and digital scales were found in Mackenzie's pockets, indicating possible use of prohibited substances before the trip. Investigators managed to obtain footage from surveillance cameras that captured part of the car's route before the accident. The video showed that Mackenzie initially drove the car normally, observing traffic rules, but then suddenly turned onto a road leading to an industrial zone and sharply increased her speed. During the investigation, friends and acquaintances of Mackenzie and Dominic were questioned. Many spoke about the couple's complicated and toxic relationship. One witness reported hearing Mackenzie threaten to kill Dominic in a car crash 2 weeks before the tragedy. Analysis of the car's black box showed that Mackenzie pressed the gas pedal to the floor and made no attempt to brake before the collision. This, along with other evidence, led investigators to conclude that the accident might not have been accidental, but an intentional action on Mackenzie's part. On November 4, 2022, Mackenzie was taken into custody. Her lawyers chose a line of defense, claiming that the accident was a tragic misfortune. They insisted that Mackenzie had no intention of killing anyone and was herself a victim of circumstances. The prosecution presented evidence to the court that, in their opinion, indicated the intentional nature of Mackenzie's actions. They referred to the black box data, video from surveillance cameras, as well as testimony about Mackenzie's previous threats against Dominic. Relatives and friends of Dominic and Davion testified in court. They spoke about the character of the boys, their dreams and plans for the future, which the tragedy had cut short. These emotional testimonies made a strong impression on everyone present in the courtroom. Experts presented the court with the results of Mackenzie's blood analysis, which showed the presence of alcohol and drugs above the permitted level. Technical data on the condition of the car and the nature of the accident were also presented, confirming the version of intentional actions by the driver. In their closing statements, Mackenzie's lawyers insisted that she had no intention of killing anyone and deeply regretted what had happened. The prosecution, on the other hand, argued that Mackenzie's actions were deliberate and planned and demanded the maximum punishment. During the trial, Mackenzie displayed various emotions. Sometimes she cried, looking depressed and confused. At other moments, she seemed calm and even indifferent. The court and those present tried to understand whether these emotions were sincere or an attempt to evoke sympathy. In her final words, Mackenzie addressed the families of Dominic and Davion, expressing deep regret for what had happened. She claimed that she would never have done it intentionally and that Dominic was the love of her life. Mackenzie also said that she would like to remember the details of that trip, but her memory had erased those recollections. On August 21, 2023, the judge announced the verdict. Mackenzie Shirilla was found guilty on all 12 counts of the indictment, including murder, aggravated vehicular homicide, and possession of controlled substances. The judge emphasized that the video clearly demonstrated the goals and intentions of the defendant, and that her actions were not accidental, but intentional and carefully planned. When the judge announced the sentence, Mackenzie cried and looked shocked. Her mother, Natalie Shirilla, was also stunned by the court's decision and continued to insist on her daughter's innocence. The families of Dominic and Davion expressed mixed feelings. On the one hand, they felt some relief that justice had prevailed. On the other hand, They understood that it would not bring back their lost loved ones. This tragic story became a vivid example of how a dangerous combination of youth, unstable emotions, and drugs can lead to catastrophic consequences. It emphasizes the importance of a responsible attitude towards one's actions and awareness of their possible consequences. The relationship between Mackenzie and Dominic was a prime example of a toxic relationship. This story demonstrates how important it is to recognize the signs of unhealthy relationships in time and have the courage to end them before they lead to tragedy. This tragedy also highlights the importance of responsible driving. It reminds us that a car can become a deadly weapon in the hands of an irresponsible driver, especially under the influence of alcohol or drugs. The case of Mackenzie raises important questions about juvenile delinquency and ways to prevent it. It emphasizes the need for early detection of problematic behavior and the provision of appropriate assistance to adolescents and their families. This story also makes us think about the complex issue of the balance between justice and mercy in the judicial system, especially when it comes to young offenders. It raises questions about how society can simultaneously ensure justice for victims and give a chance for rehabilitation to those who have committed a crime. Mackenzie Shirilla was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. This means that she will be able to apply for parole at the age of 34. Time will tell whether Mackenzie will use this period to rethink her actions and truly repent, whether she will be able to change and become a better person. The memory of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan continues to live on in the hearts of their loved ones and friends. The families and friends of the deceased have organized several charity events in their honor to preserve the memory of the young men and their dreams. At the university where Dominic studied, a scholarship was established in his name for students in the music field. For the families of Dominic and Davion, the healing process has been long and difficult. They are trying to find the strength to move on while keeping the memory of their sons alive. Some family members have become active participants in community organizations that fight against drunk driving and advocate for road safety. The tragedy has deeply affected the community of Strongsville. Local authorities and educational institutions have initiated a number of programs aimed at preventing juvenile delinquency and combating drug use among young people. Additional lessons on road safety and responsible driving have been introduced in schools. This tragic story has become a painful lesson for many. It reminds us of the importance of a responsible attitude towards our actions, the danger of toxic relationships, and the detrimental influence of drugs. It also emphasizes how fragile human life can be and how quickly reckless decisions can lead to irreparable consequences. The case of Mackenzie Shirilla remains a subject of discussion and reflection. It poses complex questions to society about justice, responsibility, and the possibility of rehabilitation. Regardless of one's personal attitude towards this case, it serves as a powerful reminder of the value of every human life and the importance of conscious choice in each of our actions. Traditionally, thank you for watching, and remind you that it would be great if you support the video by liking and subscribing to the channel.